Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome to some Sega Mega Drive on the Steam emulator. This is going to be Columns from 1990. This is also post-commentary because, my god, I cannot talk and do this at the same time. So, alright. So this is a 22-round clear. I could have probably gone better, but I was starting to zone out real hard at the end of this. I played this right after work. This is post-commentary, so don't worry. This is not me selling out. This is just a very fun game, and I wanted to play it on here because I enjoy it, and it's a classic. So a little bit of history with me and Columns here. I actually did not grow up playing Columns. According to my dad, I think my mom played it once or twice. They rented it, I'm pretty sure. Or maybe they owned it, I don't know. It's possible. I mean, I used to actually own the game Son of Chuck, and then I have no idea what happened to it. So it's possible that my parents did own this on the, Genesis, but the handful of games I actually still have, we didn't have this, unfortunately. And it's a damn shame, because I would have really liked it. So now you're probably like, now Seth, the hell is this game? This poor man's Tetris? What is this? No, you listen and you listen good. I'm going to say a hot take here. I prefer Columns over Tetris. Oh yeah, I went there. Now, look at the video length, and you can start to immediately tell why. So, you might be looking at this and going, oh, this is really easy. It's just three of a kind matching. And that's where you're kind of correct. There's nothing objectively complex about Columns, and there's nothing quite, insane. Like, there's no piece holding, nonsense like that. And this is where it gets interesting from my perspective. So I grew up playing Tetris a hell of a lot. I have Tetris Plus on PlayStation 1. That was a mom's friends gave it to us because they were like, here, have a game. Your son plays the PlayStation. So they gave us that. And I played the hell out of it. And that's a rough Tetris game. It's not really the best, I will say, because it has really, really bad sticking. So if you're unfamiliar with, like, Tetris-y terminology, sticking is how long you can let a piece stay, I'm pretty sure, before it, like, locks in place. And this game has a very good stick mechanic. It's not too fast, not too slow. So you get a good control over your moves, so you don't really feel like if you make an error, it's 100% your fault, which is good design in my opinion. But yeah, I played that a lot. Also, that version, Tetris Plus, does not have a, hold system or ghosting or anything. And, you're going to be crazy when I say this. You're going to go, Seth, you lie. And I used to watch competitive Tetris for years. It was ridiculous. I got really into it for some reason ages ago. And obviously I didn't go into Tetris competitions, okay? I didn't do that. But I've always been really into Tetris clones or games similar to Tetris. I played a hell of a lot of Bejeweled Blitz on Facebook way back in the day. I dominated that shit when I was like a teenager, okay? I was the king of fuck shit Mountain on my Facebook, profile, okay? And then I spammed all my family and friends to play Mafia Wars with my 500 plus clan, okay? It was real deal, okay? So yeah, trust me, I'm no stranger to the falling shit puzzle games. They're some of my favorite games of all time. And what I think really is spectacular about Columns, and there is actually a Tetris on Genesis. I have played it on this emulator, actually. It's pretty good. It's a little, I don't know. I think it's got some problems, but it's not the worst. I've played worse Tetris clones. I actually have Tetris Worlds on GBA. That is notoriously bad. Because it has... So, remember how I said sticking earlier? You could just drop a piece and then just go and just keep rotating it infinitely and then hold it and then just keep doing that until you finish the game. And it only has 30 levels and then it just ends. So, yeah, that's really busted. So, I've always been really interested... I played Pack Attack a lot. I've never seen an arcade that had Pack Attack, or Columns for that matter. Or Tetris. I've never seen any of these games in arcade. The Family Fun Center I used to have, I used to go to, they used to have mainly just like Pac-Man and Mortal Kombat 4, few Tekken cabs. So I've never seen any of the puzzly games. It's kind of a damn shame because I think what makes this game really good is there's an entire zen state your mind just kind of slips into when you're playing this specific kind of a game, and I love it. Now, don't be fooled, I don't die for a long time in this, so, but yeah, I played Columns for probably, maybe 2 years. I got really into it for a while, and then I stopped playing it. What would I say the easiest thing you need to learn to get a high score, though, is? Do what I'm doing right here. See how I'm constantly making these diagonal patterns? That's going to cause the, you know, jewels, whatever you want to call them, to cascade more, and you'll get much higher combos and much higher scores. You'll clear up more space, and it's a lot easier. One thing you can't do in this game that you might be like, oh, I'll just stack all the colors up. That kind of works, but once you start getting, you know, different colors in weird patterns, you create junk. I think that's what it's called in Tetris. Junk areas where you have to start clearing really aggressively to get, like, you know, a float. And that is a huge problem. This game can turn on you real fucking fast. This is, like I said, probably my favorite of the Tetris-y falling stuff kind of games, because look at these fucking... Oh, that feels so good. You really feel the success and pull in a game, and it's so satisfying. I even love how the music's dynamic, which for a Genesis game, that's pretty impressive. The Genesis wasn't exactly a musical powerhouse. I think most people know this, but the Genesis had a notoriously tinny sounding, you know, sound chip, so a lot of it sounded really funky. But I think that's kind of what leads to this game's charm. It has a very, like, you're sitting at your grandma's house, your grandma's got, like, some crazy, like, oh, here, have some Bible games, and it's got some slapping tunes that still somehow make you feel really relaxed. This is what that's like for me. But, you know, it also makes me really want hard candy, and I actually can't eat candy, so it's not a good wanna-have thing. But anyways, I think that's the appeal of Columns for me personally, is it's so satisfying. Like, if I just didn't have to work tomorrow and I didn't have, like, 200 things on my mind, I could probably sit here for, like, infinitely. I don't know. I think 22 is the highest I've ever gotten up to. But see, look at these chains. This is what I'm talking about. This is how you stay alive for a long time in Columns, is to by just trying your best not to, like, box yourself in weird ways and just keep these diagonal columns going. So yeah, that's something that I think, if this game has something over Tetris, is it's got length, baby. It's got the foot long. It's got the $5 foot long, and you can play in the danger area for quite a while too. It's not recommended, but that's certainly what feels like the most exhilarating part of this game, is you can play like this for minutes, and you'll see me do this here in a moment. But, so if I play Columns 2 as of right this minute, no. But the Genesis collection on Steam and 360 also comes with Columns 3, which I have played, and I don't think it's bad. I've gotten probably halfway through normal, like, difficulty. It's a little bit different. It's more if you've played Mortal Kombat Deception's Puzzle Fighter. It plays a lot like that. See, look at this. Look at this. Watch this play here. This is what I'm talking about. Look how close I am to just getting absolutely killed, and I'm just putting up the biggest fight I can possibly put up. And I'm just lucky that the game speed slowed down just a tiny bit here at this point, because I don't think I would have done this any other way. But that's another reason I like this game. It reminds me a lot of the puzzle fighter combat in Deception, which is one of my favorite things about Deception, if arguably it's the best inclusion in it. And, you know, the problem is there's no just, like, freeform mode. And I know that, was it Super Turbo Street Fighter 2 8 bajillion alpha quadruple booty tangent fighter puzzle game has something basically built on the engine of Columns. I think one of the developers of that game said that. I don't know, I read it on a YouTube comment, so it's probably not true, but there's a likelihood it is. So you know, it's one of those things where, like, the gameplay is so basic, and you can watch this and just go, this doesn't look that hard. But then you realize any mistake at this point in the game, or earlier, causes you to basically suffer. It's actually one of the nicest things I think is, like, complex about these kinds of games. You always have this back of the mind thing of, if I make a mistake now, this is what causes the game to end. And I think that's a really good mechanic, because if you don't have like a mistake system, the game's too easy. And if you have too unforgiving of a mechanic, the game is too frustrating. That's why I think Tetris works as well, at least newer iterations of it. But nah, Columns is just... it's Columns, man. And I'm sure somebody has at least seen this game growing up in the 90s. It wouldn't shock me, because it was apparently one of the most popular Genesis games in the beginning. And I think that's why I like doing these Genesis games, is because everyone has their hard-on for Sonic. You know, that's like that's the big one. Everyone's like, oh, Sonic! It's like, cool, there's other games on the Genesis that weren't Sonic, Flashback being my absolute favorite. So it's like, there's so many different games out there, and everyone just goes, I want to see the Sonics! But, you know, that's the thing, is I'll do Sonic 1 and 2 someday. I've never actually played Sonic 3 on my own. I've only played it with friends, or friends around, you know what I mean? So I didn't grow up with that one. But, you know, I had... you know, I had games like Tasmania, Captain America and the Avengers, what else? I played Flashback a ton when I was a kid. That was one of the first games I ever beat. It was quite a cool feeling, too. That was one of the first games I used the internet for, by the way. And it was like... you know, that's what I mean. Like, there's so many other games on the Genesis that aren't just the Sonic games. And I personally think games like this are fantastic. I mean, Altered Beast is also really good because it was a pack-in. But, goddamn, I mean, these kinds of games are so simple. And they're so satisfying. The thing that sucks with this game is I can just keep playing this for hours and hours and hours and hours. And I don't need a, you know, one-up system. I don't need a DLC hentai nude skin mod. Okay, that might actually help. A tiny bit. I don't need microtransactions or shiny, crazy graphics or screaming in my face, you did it, congratulations, every time I break something. No. This is how you make a very... oh, that was a terrible play. But that wasn't. You know, this is what I mean. Games were simple, and they didn't need to be complex. And I mean, put yourself in the shoes of some, like, scumbag, like, you know, 90s teenager, you know. You're like, oh yeah, man, I play fucking Columns. What do you got? Tetris? It's a baby's game. It's kind of true. I mean, because think about it. When the Genesis first launched, there was not very many games. And I mean, yeah, there was Master System, but Master System games are kind of rough. I didn't actually grow up playing those. Probably for the better. Some of them are pretty bad, but some of them are pretty good. That's the weird thing. But, you know, how do you make a game that competes with Tetris? Because inevitably people are going to go, oh, it's like Tetris, is it? It's like, yeah, it's like Tetris, but it's better. And, you know, that's what I mean. I'll do Columns 3 one day on here when I get really good at it. I'll have to see somewhere on the workshop page if they have Columns 2. I'll give that a try, see if I like it. Talk about it if I can. It's definitely something I'm interested in, and I think I like Columns 3. It's really funny because Columns 3 and Tetris Plus both involve Egyptian architecture and stuff. It's weird. I mean, I say that loosely, but I do think Columns 3 is a little bit more... it's the battle mode of the game, you know? It's kind of more of an expansion pack than anything. It doesn't even come with, like, a single player like this mode. And I've tried the other modes in this too, and they just don't interest me as much. This is all I really want. I don't want something, you know, with just a bunch of flashing colors, but I will admit the art in 3 is actually kind of worse. It's a lot more washed out, and I don't think the presentation's as good. I like this sort of weird Romany, like, I don't know what the theme of the game has to do with anything. Apparently the music choices you can choose here are based on some, I think, Greek tragedy or something. I can't remember. It's interesting that they chose like that kind of like aesthetic for a game like this, because it doesn't really mean anything, but it's still, I get it, you know, it's a very weird kind of thing to even have a theme for like something like Tetris, you know what I mean? But that's my point. I think for what Columns is, it holds up really well, especially this. You know, the thing is, too, is this wasn't with a joystick. This was with a D-pad, and I was using my D-pad on my controller the entire time. So it's like, the fact that this controls so fluidly, even back then in 1992 on a, you know, basically a standard controller, that's impressive. A lot of games didn't really translate from arcades back in the day very well. And I'm one of those crazy people that actually doesn't like arcade controls a lot because it just feels awkward. I've played a lot of MK like 1 and 3 in the arcade, and it just doesn't feel good to me. I just don't like that control scheme. But that's my point. The fact that this translates really well, that's awesome. And I cannot believe that this game is as addictive as it is. And, you know, if I was, you know, a kid, I would have thought this game was awesome. I would have fucking mastered this shit as a kid. I wish I had grown up with this, because I wish... I really do. That's the one thing I'm like, damn it, man. Why did my parents have to get me, like, Tasmania? Why couldn't they have gotten me this? Been a way better present. So, yeah, this is where I finally bite the bullet. I probably could have went way longer if I was actually focused a bit more. But, yeah, I want to say thank you guys for watching and listening to me talk about Columns for 20 minutes straight. So, hope you guys enjoyed that one, and I'll catch you in the next one.